Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcaster who really, I think the sound of the TARDIS is a very soothing sound. But I would say I'm a little bit easier to sleep to than the sound of a TARDIS. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, that's okay. I'm just here to put you to sleep and keep you company because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And if you're a regular listener, could I just please have your attention for a few minutes before you fall asleep and remind you, when your hand hits the fridge tomorrow, sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors, because these are the ways we're able to keep this podcast free for everybody. Hey, everybody, before we get to the story here, you might have heard the update. The show's crossed some milestones, 800 episodes. Show's impacted hundreds and hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people, and allowed them to get a good night's sleep. And really, that is because of, the people that have taken action to support the show, the rebels with a cause that have said, Sleep With Me is valuable to me. It's a part of my life. And I want it to be out there free in the world. And coming up here in September, we're going to be doing something really fun. So if you've ever been a patron, whether you are one now or you were one in the past, or you want to become one, do it now, but before September 15th, because that's going to be the cutoff date for this exciting thing we're doing. But really, just become a patron if you're in a position to do so financially. You really do feel like you get value out of the podcast and you want it to be free for everybody and be there when you need it. And you feel like, being wild. You say, well, yeah, I pay all these corporations monthly fees. So let me pay for a podcast I get a lot out of. That's there for me. And I want it to be there for other people too. It's really generous. So those of you that have already done that or have done it in the past, thank you so much. I do say it, and I think it's easy to kind of tune it out. This podcast wouldn't be here without you, without your action. I'm really indebted to you because you are the wind in my sails. You are the water, waters the soil or whatever, the nutrients that allow the seed to grow. So thank you so much. And if you're newer or you say, oh, wait a second. Yeah, I've been thinking about becoming a patron. You do it between now and September 15th so you can get in on this thing we're going to be doing. It's going to be fun, and it's going to be celebratory. Just wanted to thank you so much. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/patrons, how you become a rebel with the cause. Thanks. Sleepy supporter zone time to celebrate the podcast, the people who keep the podcast free for everybody by supporting the sponsors. I want to thank Candy, who not only got a Quip toothbrush, also got a new planner. The Quip is the sponsor. GetQuip.com/sleep. I also want to thank Luke, who supported Green Chef. Luke went to greenchef.us/sleep75 and got $25 off Luke's first 3 boxes of Green Chef. greenchef.us/sleep75. Thank you both for supporting the sponsors. And here to celebrate in the Sleepy Supporter Zone, now on with your Sleepy Podcast. Oh, Mr. Bard, I know you work really hard, strumming, singing and strumming along. But who else helps out on this show? Who helps me pronounce my word? Okay. Thanks, Mr. Bard.
Posty poster son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the legend also edits episodes. Kenny, Scotty, and Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the mystery bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. Could be for Father's Day, which is coming up soon. Or could be just to say, hey, you're cool. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support, dear Scooter, on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance to be part of Nine Vale Presents. So now on with the show.
Thank you, Mr. Bard. I'm at Dearest Scooter on Twitter and Instagram. Remember to check out our newsletter, sleepwithmepodcast.com/newsletter. It'll just give you occasional updates about the show, live shows, stuff like that. And I think that's it. What do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you can set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in time and temperature, routine, whatever it is. If you have something you're thinking about, something you're experiencing or physically dealing with, like to take your mind off of that and keep you company. Be near your bedside, at your bedside, across the room. It could be we could be, this is imaginary, but we could be best friends. I could be on one of those tin cans, going across. Maybe that's something people don't know about anymore. And that it was mostly in the movies, from my memory. So maybe we'll talk about that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents, others, things, TBD, to things to be decided. Like, when I think of them, I say, well, you got to put some words in there, Scoots. WTBS, words to be spoken. So, but basically, I'm here to goof around and keep you company. If you're new, here's a couple of things. This show's silly and a little bit goofy and very different. So give it a few tries, kind of see how it goes. If you can, just kind of view the first couple of listens as a passive observer. Ideally, you'll fall asleep. Maybe I'll put you in a better mood. But yeah, just kind of see how it goes. Structurally, what to expect. The show starts off with a few minutes of business. That's how we keep it free. Then there's an intro. The intros are around 12 or 15 minutes. And it mostly consists of helping you ease you into bedtime by me spending 12 to 15 minutes trying to come up with a metaphor of what the podcast is. And I haven't been able to successfully do that in a concise way in 750 plus episodes. But yeah, you could listen to it and ideally it helps get you comfortable. Some people fall asleep during it. A few people skip ahead about 18 minutes or so and just go straight for the discussion portion of the show. Tonight we'll be talking about Doctor Who, season 2, episode 10 or 10, 11, depending on technicalities. But if you say, well, I don't watch that show, or, I don't want to be spoiled, or doesn't that show contain, isn't Doctor Who like a traveler? Is it the same Doctor Who with the scarf? No scarf on this one. Good question. That's a very good question. But no, it's kind of like, I'll look at the episode. This one actually has this is a very fun episode. It does have low Doctor Who and Rose content, but it was still, it has a full arc, and the first third of the story is, it's really a heartfelt story from beginning to end, but you wouldn't know it listening to me talk about it, because I'm mostly be talking about Jeff Lynne, ELO, things in the background. I say, what is that in the background of that dude's room? Elton is his name. Here's something I don't think I'll talk about, but I do wonder where, does Elton have roommates? Because Elton's in Elton's room the whole time. Not the whole episode, but just anyway. So that'll be what you have coming up. You just got a 4-minute sampler of it there. And then there's some thank yous at the end. Between the intro and the episode portion, there is some business. That's what, again, keeps the show free and able to, put it out twice a week. Yeah, for your consumption, to put you to sleep, to keep you company, to calm you down during the day. That's a larger portion of the show is You say, hey, I need something distract, like, I can't quite chillax, but I would like it if my LAZARD brain chillaxed. So maybe if I put this podcast on, I say, you got it. And the whole idea is to keep you company. Like, this podcast isn't something you really need to listen to. And it isn't necessarily something that actually does put you to sleep, and more it keeps you company as you drift off. It distracts you. As I've been a bit distracted thinking about this tin can thing. So let me see if I could break it out for everybody. Now, some of you may have lived in the tin can phone era. This was a hobbyist phone, by the way. It wasn't a actual communication device, like a mass market thing. But what it was, let's see. So some of you may have lived during that era. I guess for some reason, well, anyway, it was on cartoons a lot when I was a kid. In maybe like one science class, you would do it. But really, the glory users of the tin can phones were either best friends that happened to live in houses next to one another. I guess kind of CBs and walkie-talkies, as in that great Netflix show, kind of did away with that. Even though, come on, I mean, those kids had the greatest walkie-talkies ever existed. I mean, I suspended my disbelief for it till just this moment, but before you had walkie-talkies in movies and cartoons, you had a tin can phone. It may have gone by another thing. So if you had either a treehouse or a best friend whose bedroom was also ideally parallel to yours and about 15 feet or less away by window, and you could do this, I bet you one of the great science channels, podcasts, YouTube, check out SciShow. Maybe they've done it. I don't know. But like, because I don't know what the science behind it is. Sound waves, I would presume. But basically, you take 2 tin cans, which are also were known as soup cans. Now I would more call them a bean can because, I mean, I guess you still buy soup. I guess I don't buy a lot of canned soup. I do buy beans and tomato, like if you fire, diced tomatoes in cans. But a can that you would buy canned goods in. So you need 2 of those. Then I think you need a string. And then you need a supervising adult, by the way, always, of course. Then you would need something. I think this used to be a tool that was used all the time. I don't know if it isn't necessarily anymore. An awl, AWL. Or I guess a hammer and a nail, because I can kind of see this, and I'm seeing it in my science book now. And then what you do is you obviously wash out the can. So you have an open end on one end of the can and a closed end on the other. Here's another pro tip. Like you want to probably sand down the inside of the open can because it could, just to make sure there's no edges. If we've got a responsible adult here, we might as well put them to work. Get sanding. Aunt Sally. So sand that down. Then you take, let's just say, a hammer and a nail. You want a pretty big nail, like the kind they use in cartoons and movies in science books. I don't know if that's a double aught or what, but then you just tap the nail with the hammer, put a little hole in there. I guess not too big a hole, but, a hole. Then you put the string through, then reach through the other side. You knot the string a few times. And then you do the same. Now, you don't want, here's probably why I never did it, because the string would have gotten all freaking tangled. I don't know if Rob or Josh can get this to Jeff Probst, but maybe this could be a competition on Survivor. Also, maybe Survivor tin can communication. Like they could call like the other tribe and say, hey, what are you doing over there? I got to get to the point of what this thing actually does, though. So you have the string now. You have 2 tin cans. Now all you do is, and here's one of my favorite words to say, pull it taut. And that's THUGHT, I think. And then what you can do, and you could whisper, say, hey, sibling, sorry about that the other day. I love you so much. Or if it was a best friend, you would say stuff to them. And then I think you have to put it to your ear to listen. So you should use walkie-talkie protocol and say over. and then you can communicate just like a telephone or a walkie-talkie, and you should have tons of fun with that. Just don't get it tangled. Ideally, you got to use it in some situation where I guess you'd have to speak quiet. Let me know. Those of you that are doing it, I'll think about doing it with my daughter. I'll put that on the list of things. I mean, maybe I could, maybe I'm emotionally at the point where I could do this, a weekend science project, and maybe I could do it in front of her friends. So I say, Dad, I wanted a real, I said, well, you told me you wanted a phone. Here you go. Tin can phone. We'll run it across the, you can't really run it across anywhere where people are walking. That's why in the TV shows and the movies, it was always, so anyway, that's a tin can phone. I think my point was I was going to try to make that into a metaphor that at least in this was all, when they say, Scoots, what did you aspire to be as a kid? Well, treehouse owner, communicate, having a bit like a member of the Goonies, talk to someone, have a best friend. Of course, if it was the 80s and it would develop, one day into a blossoming romance, that I talk to by tin can phone, and or also parallel, you have awesome walkie-talkies, go, adventures, most of those things. What would you take, if we said scale it down? It's, well, treehouse and the tin can phone, because I know the Goonies, but, then we have the Netflix show, but those kids are already full up too. So, yeah, I guess one of those things, that's what I'd like. And Scoots, how is that a metaphor for the podcast? Well, when you're lying there in bed, it's always nice to have somebody to talk to. And ideally, but that's that's aspirationally. Really, it's just nice to have someone to take your mind off of stuff, to know you're not, to not feel alone. And maybe to put that tin can phone to your ear and they say, well, anyway, I was talking to my teddy bear about buying shirts. And they say, well, what size do you wear? But how come no shirt? And then I said, well, why don't you snuggle up here under my eye? That's the kind of thing that might take your mind off stuff, keep you company. That's the kind of thing we do on this show. And mostly because I know how it feels. I've been there. So I guess that's kind of the summary of the show. Also, I guess a little monologue about tin can phones, and probably, ideally, the emails will be coming in with corrections, which I appreciate. And I say, okay, well, that's good to know. I would have wondered why. I wondered why my tin can phones never worked. Oh, Jeff, thanks for getting back to me. I didn't realize that's why you wouldn't base the whole season. And actually, Jeff, I didn't say the whole season of Survivor based on that. It just said it would be a cool thing. Maybe it could be, instead of further family visits, they talk by tin can phone. They say, well, you didn't earn a family visit, but you could talk to them by tin can phone. No, okay, hello? Oh, that was an imaginary version of Jeff Probst anyway. Also, this episode's going to come out. I don't even know if there'll be Survivor being. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. And I really hope I can help you fall asleep. I work very hard. I yearn and I strive for it. And I appreciate your time. And here's a couple of ways we keep the show going. Hey, everybody. I was wondering if I have a couple of updates for you. The show has crossed some big milestones. It's about to, when I'm recording this, we're getting close to 800 episodes. A few months ago, we crossed 100 million downloads. And that was free to everybody. That's the kind of thing I've been talking about lately. And that's because of those of you that have taken action, those of you that are patrons in particular, and maybe you're listening, you say, hey, I'm a patron, this is cool. And if you're not a patron, maybe you supported the show some other ways. We're going to do something really fun in September to celebrate it. So keep your ears out. But if you are a patron or you've been thinking about it, you're kind of on the fence, or you have been a patron, you're a big, big, big part of that because it is the primary way we've kept the show free for everybody. That and the people that support the sponsors. It is wildly rebellious to pay for a free podcast. But it really is like you're making a sacrifice for your own self-care and then actually supporting the care of thousands of other people. And that's kind of the definition of creating community. Like, I really do use the analogy like a community garden. Like, anyone could come to this podcast and come and take what, for, in this case, the sleepy stuff they need. But the ability to keep the community garden open, to have the supplies and the labor that goes into maintaining it, that's because of you patrons and you people that support the sponsors. And there's nothing wrong with choosing or not being in a position to do so. But those of you that did take action, it is something worthy of celebrating. And I hope if you're listening to this, you could feel really good about it. And you say, well, I was a patron for a little while, but now I can't. Well, you are a huge, huge part of this. And if you did something free, like spread the word about this show, you're a part of this too. You really should feel good. It's like think about that. It's over 100 million times the podcast has probably been listened to for free when someone needed it. Now, if you're new or you say, well, I'm not sure. Well, I'm just like trying to get this across to people that say, I do get a lot of value out of the show. I am rebellious. And I do pay my cable company all this money. What am I doing? If any of that resonates with you, or if you want to become a patron, you could go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. I guess that's what I was saying. If anything resonates with you, I think that's it. I thought I had something else. If you have supported the sponsors or supported the show by spreading the word, you will get a chance to participate in this fun thing we're doing. Don't worry. Just to listen to the Sleepy Supporter Zone coming up. But I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much for helping us reach these milestones. It really, I could not have done it without all of you supporting the show and listening and sleeping to it. Thank you. Hey, everybody, we're talking about season 2, episode 10 or 11, depending on how you're counting. But the way I've been counting is it's episode 11, and episode's called Love and Puppies. Who couldn't love anything more than a puppy? Oh, no, love, but it really is like a pun on puppy love, which I just realized this second. It starts with this dude running, and he's running. There's running music. It kind of sounds like something out of the musicals Stomp or Blue Person Group. And speaking of blue, one thing that stuck out to me was the blue doors and the warehouses. They look like they were just fresh painted for the episode. And there's these brick warehouses. Let's see, warehouse doors. That's what that says. Brick building. Oh, I said, and then the TARDIS. And then we have the TARDIS theme music, the woo 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 mystical music, as this mystery person, what seems friendly, walks up and touches it. And that's when you kind of see a little bit of sloppy painting from the crew. No offense, I guess. It just rarely do I notice those things. Could have been the city of wherever they are. Then Rose yells for the doctor. So this character, the new character, keeps running. He's inside a warehouse now. There's a little cookie because a couple of the pieces of equipment look like Daleks. Dalek lookalikes. Industrial building opens the door. There's a being there, like a puppy, from another universe world. There's a puppy-based being, and this character does it. And this is actually a witty, fun episode. I forgot to say that. Different than a normal episode of Who, but it cuts to our character talking to the camera, and he says, "If you think that was the most exciting day of my life." Just wait till you hear the rest. Then he says, oh, boy, just like Scooter said, in a different way, but just like I say on the podcast. Then the episode opens. He's back and talking to the camera. I was in person being doctor with, First he's back at the camera, I think, the episode. I'm 2 seconds ahead of the episode. Oh, yeah, there he talks to the camera. Then we're back at the warehouse with the doctor holding a pork chop for the puppy. And there's a little comedy with blue buckets and not blue buckets and Rose. And then some cartoon, endless running with Rose, the doctor, and the puppy. And the doctor told this other character to hit the road. Chase's rod and blue Chase's, they're just chase scene with the red and blue buckets. Then the doctor stops. I don't know what, yeah, when he's running, maybe he says, don't I know you from somewhere, to this character. Then we hear TARDIS, dude, Brian's. What does that mean? Dude breaks, maybe. He breaks out of there. When the doctor says, don't I know you? Yeah, it's happening right now. Hold on. Don't I know you? And yeah, he breaks out. He says something about that. He says, I got to hit the road. Then we hear TARDIS sounds. So while he was running, things resolved themselves, and the doctor and Rose took off. And he talks about how much he loves the sound. He's leaning against the wall. They didn't have a chance to look this up, but I know this kind of episode, it's not a recap episode. It does have some recaps, but an episode where the main characters take a break, or the actresses and actors. But so that's what this, I didn't look that up, so I don't even know. But let's see. There's Endless Hallway. Oh, we already covered that. Leaning. Ursula without stairs. Then we see Ursula on camera. It's a brand new camera. The character's talking. He says, they're outside my family home. He says, the people that live there now, they're a bit severe. And I love that phrase. There's a few different good phrases in here. Oh boy, of course. A bit severe. And he kind of gives a like he goes, when I first met the doctor, I was 4 years old. Oh, by the way, my name's Elton. Even though you're 8 minutes into the episode, Scoots, I'll share it now. Still don't know why the doctor was there. Then he has this moment. He's talking to the camera and to Ursula. And he has this moment where he looks off, 1,000-yard. And then he does a recap of his other run-ins with the doctor, which were the mannequin episode. 12 months later, when the thing went into the Big Ben. Then the Christmas Day episode that started this season off, which feels like a long time ago, which kind of did some stuff to Elton's room. And he said, I had to do a rudimentary pulley system to reach my boots. The future of the episode and realize the truth, Elton thanks. Oh, that's when, they flash forward. I think the episode resolves everything, and restores the truth, Elton thanks. I don't know what that actually means. I'm watching it right now. And then there's a sunset of a different short, sunset different shirt. I think he changed shirts, so there was a new scene with Elton. But he goes, this isn't my whole life. Let me see where it is. Let me check the transcript, too. Yeah, so Elton's talking in my bed, nice and cozy. That's when I got woken up about the... Okay, here we go. This is where it gets interesting. Then he talks about how he saw the doctor. Oh, no, that's... I'm always mixed up here. No problem, though. Oh, he flashes forward to when he met Jackie Tyler, Victor Kennedy, and finally the doctor. That's what he's kind of setting up. But he goes, geez, this isn't my whole life, just spaceships and the doctor. I like football. I like drink. I like Spain. And if there's one thing I really love, it's Jeff Lynne and ELO, Electric Light Orchestra. And then he's dancing to Blue Sky, Mr. Blue Sky. Sorry, Blue Sky. I didn't mean to call you just Blue Sky. And let's see, I've seen him as a kid. Mr. Skinner. Okay, well, I'm ahead of myself. Jeff Lynne, Blue Sky dancing. Then we cut to Elton working on the case. He's observing a blog about the doctor with the snow effect. Never been signed, talking on a park bench. This is when he talks to Ursula. Then he says something about Trafalgar Square. So the spaceship... we all went to Trafalgar Square. Oh, that's where he saw the doctor. Then he meets Ursula, who has the blog. She says, we're the Inner Sanctum. We're all studying the doctor. And they kind of talk about how he doesn't age. And he goes, that's how I met Ursula. And then there was a community of us. Ursula, for a while, was a proper mate. And then we found this community of people with stories about the doctor. And we used to meet below the main old library on Maester Street or something. Mr. Skinner, who was also named Colin Skinner, he goes by Mr. Skinner. Also, the actor who was, I apologize, I can look it up, but he was in one of the, maybe he was in both seasons of Alan Partridge, or was he only in the first season? I can't remember. I think he's in both. He's a bit of he plays this great foil, I guess, in Alan Partridge, a great, one of my favorite shows or comedies. Okay, so that's how I met Ursula. Then we had the Community. This is 5 minutes in. Greenall. Let me see, because let's see, 5 minutes. I guess I'm supposed to pause it. No, this is not 5 minutes in. Mr. Skinner, Colin, or pause 10 minutes, for something. Oh, because he's giving this presentation. So this becomes this beautiful short montage. Because they say we used to meet up in and just talk about the doctor. Mr. Skinner, Bliss, Bridget, and then we started talking about more things. First, they do, okay, wait a second. Here's Mr. Skinner. He's talking about the mythological structures, archetypes of the doctor, the fool, the king, the trickster, or the stranger. And it kind of shows how they're interactive. Really cool art. So he's giving that one. Then Bridget gives a slideshow about how there's more than one doctor, but the police box is the thing. And it's just shown up in history, even in Egypt. Then Bliss is showing about kind of more of a interpretive art around like physical art that she's done around the doctor and representations. But it really is more of an actual insight into who the doctor is. And then it becomes, then we, so we should have a name. It gets cuter by the minute, the first act at least. And he says, London Investigation and Detective Agency, letter N. So Linda. And everybody said, he said, I always wanted to have some like fish and chips, rock and roll, Shakademus and pliers. And Ursula says, did you just think of that? And he goes, no, I've waited my whole life to use the Linda United, they say. And Ursula kind of gives him a cool look. Simon Greenall is the actor that plays Mr. Skinner. So then there's this another montage, bridge to shell cooking. I don't know what that means. Cheers to Linda. They have a cheers to Linda. But then they show kind of how they're sharing. Mr. Skinner reads from his novel. And it just like they're living. They kind of have like, they're eating, they're sharing like truth from their hearts. They become real friends. Bliss sings some of her music. And everybody sings, I gave my love a cherry. I've got a brand new pair of roller skates, a couple of on banjo. And then it still gets better. Like, Elton says, I confess my love of ELO. So then we became musical, Linda, and they were singing as a group, Don't Bring Me Down. Oh, man, this episode is good. Yeah. And, there's a power surge, because that's when it all changed. Victor Kennedy showed up, and the golden age was gone. And this Victor Kennedy rolls in, and you can tell that, there's something up. It's like they don't, act like there isn't. But he doesn't shake hands with anybody. Solution, what does that mean? Let's get ahead here. Got work to do. Oh, there's Mr. Kennedy. Yeah, no, felt like we were getting closer. Well, maybe I jumped ahead. Here's Victor Kennedy. He's rolling in. Okay, they say, I don't shake hands. He goes, you forgot. He goes, aren't you looking for the doctor? Got to get to work. Oh, he talks about how the sound continues. He shows him this video. He goes, that's the sound of the universe. And then he says, Elton, you've heard it before. And he goes, yeah, I forgot about it till just now. But it was the night when I was a kid and I went downstairs. And then they say, what is it? And he goes, it's his spaceship. And he says, use the Torchwood files, get to work. We got to find the doctor. Sound of the universe, Elton's attention. Then once we'll be one step closer to the doctor. See a goods only sign when they leave. Victor talks to Bliss. But then there's like another montage where it says, now we're working for Victor Kennedy. I never thought about it as work from doctor. I don't know what that means. Ursula says that until now. Oh, because Elton says, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. Pause for the desk details. Okay, so then we go back to this when, like, after a quick montage, maybe this is a montage, we see Victor Kennedy's kind of totally taking things over. And he's got a desk set up in the basement. He's got globes. He's got a bust, an hourglass, three things of adult beverage, scrolls. It looks like he has three light up globes of different colors, then one wooden globe, a bunch of, brass lamp. But yeah, he's got a lot going on. Let's see if I'll let it play and see if there's anything. Oh yeah, we're peeling out. He's got a coat rack. Elton's working with what do you call that thing? He also has something like a Tesla lamp, but it's not. But Elton has like a blue, one of those transparent blue rulers that you have in like middle school. He raises it when he has a question. Woolwich police box. They found a clue. Woolwich. And they say, get over there. But then Elton kind of froze. And this is the beginning of the episode. Elton's the one that finds it. They do a fast forward. So then he froze. So then Victor's not nice. He says, how could you have froze? Then we see the power and strength of Ursula because she stands up to him. She says, this is not proper. We're working together, Mr. Kennedy. Don't raise your voice at anybody. And he says, duly noted. Ursula's the strong one. And then they say, we're going to switch it up. We're going to try to find the doctor's companion now. It's Bad Wolf something. It protected her ID. Also, the doctor said this, which I find, I don't like to be touched literally or metaphorically. So they head to London, and Elton says, how am I going to find a girl out of 10 million people? I don't think that's going to happen. And the first person she asks, she says, oh, yeah, that's Rose Tyler. She lives at Bucknell House right down the road, number 48. Her mom's Jackie Tyler, bit odd, nice family. We get to the blue sky. Elton's running. We see him dancing. And we see Jackie at the laundry. It turns out she likes to go to the pub quiz at the Spinning Wheel pub. Elton pretends to go into laundry to do a fake wash, kind of talks about the training they've gotten from Victor Kennedy. Pretends to wash his shirt, but Jackie needs change. No, Elton's the kind of person that carries change, maybe because, so he's able to make a connection with her. Her washing machine's broken. That's why she's there. So Elton starts going. There's another montage kind of Elton fixing her house, her fuses. And then she goes, Jackie says to him, I should have you on tap. I liked that one. I should have you on tap, like to fix stuff around the house. And she goes, I used to have somebody named Mickey do all this stuff, but not anymore. He's gone away. And she also says, let's put on the telly and have some tea, but I can't bear it silent. She doesn't like it quiet. She goes, yeah, it's my daughter. I got a bunch of pictures of her up. She's traveling. Name her Rose. And Ellen says, well, that's a nice name. Where's she at? She goes, all over. She calls me through a mobile. Says, oh, who's she with? Mates. And then I wouldn't story far for here. Everyone proud of, I don't know what that means. She says, you're a charmer. He says, if I had enough cup of tea like this, I wouldn't stray far from home. Then we go back and everybody's proud of Elton for, meeting Jackie. And except for Ursula actually is impressed with Jackie's chest, she says. That was unexpected. They say, keep it up, Elton, buddy. Mr. Skinner and Bridget are proud. It turns out those two are going to date Mr. Skinner and Bridget. They're fixing, but then Victor Kennedy kind of takes care of that. Then there's a montage of Elton fixing Jackie's place up and doing a lot of work there. Elton actually has abs and he wears tight pants and he has a tight butt, and Jackie's checking it out. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. He goes, I can't believe how much work she needed done around her place. He's weird. And he says it's like the flat, then Jackie gives him a glass of wine. She gets a little reward from a handy person. And he goes, well, I got to go. She goes, you could always splash out on a taxi, see what happens or whatever. And he goes, is this wine French? Jake says, I suppose so. They know how to do things, the French. But Elton's still working the Rose angle. And Jake says, my daughter's not coming home tonight, in case you're wondering. Then she's playing Il Divo. They're talking about, and then she goes, is it hot in here or is it just you, Elton? She goes, take your jacket off. Then she spills some wine on his shirt. She goes, I'm sorry. He goes, it's fine. She goes, no, let me put it in the wash. He goes, no, it's not very much. So then she pours more wine on him. Then Elton kind of goes into the bathroom. Let's see what we got. Had a boy. Elton can't take a hint out from Jackie. Elton is fit, because then he goes in the bathroom, he takes his shirt off, he's getting ready, and then he comes out, but without a shirt on, and Jackie's got a call from Rose, Killing Me Softly by Il Divo's playing in the background, and he says a great thing, he says, funny things you think of when your shirt's off, because he had a moment, then the term swanning off gets used, proper mates. He says, Jake, how about we be proper mates and get a pizza? Then we have Elton coming back with a pizza to Jackie's. But Jackie figured everything out, that he was trying to figure out the doctor. So she's not happy. But then also during this part of the scene, there's a flashback to Ursula, because by taking his shirt off for Jackie, Elton realized he was in love with Ursula. Jackie knew because she went in his coat to give him money. Feelings hurt. Jackie uses the term, those that get left behind, something because you become hard because it is hard or something. So we really get even though it's short, we get a deep insight into Jackie. She says, I'm not going to, I'm a guardian of the doctor and Rose. Then hit the road, Jack, she says, you and your pizza, tisk, tisk. Then Elton's not happy with Victor Kennedy because he says, what are you doing, roping us into this stuff? So then Victor Kennedy gives this big speech, Elton gives it back. He says, you've gone all wrong. We were having fun till you showed up. And he goes, I'm out of here. And he goes, as for you, Ursula, would you like to go have a Chinese? And she goes, what do you mean? He goes, like a date. And she goes, yeah. And they go, Mr. Skinner, you want to leave with us? You can't come on our date, but you can roll out with us. But then he says, Mr. Skinner, I think I got whoever he was dating, Bridget's phone number. I think they say good luck, goodbye. So he says, Mr. Skinner, can you stay? But then Elton and Ursula leave, but then they had forgotten their phone, Ursula's phone. What does this say? Oh, libraries. Yeah, because you see the library sign. Then they realize that something's not right because they say, Mr. Skinner's in the restroom. Victor Kennedy says, and they say there is no restroom. You got to go around the block to the pub. And pace of Pavway nouns. He's reading the newspaper, Victor Kennedy. I wanted to get a couple of reads off of that. And then we realize that Victor Kennedy is from, Another World too. And he's been up to no good. He's been using them, obviously, like, that's like pretty par for the course. Also, like, I want to get to the dialogue, but let me see this newspaper thing first. They're going to get their phone, come back, they open the door, and it looks like, let's see, what paper is he reading? The Daily Telegraph. We're going to slow zoom. I was just trying to see if it's a real paper, or there's jokes on it or anything. Usually not any jokes. Looks like some people on the cover. And still zooming in. I can't read. It's a little blurry. See if it goes back one more time. Because it was a full close-up. 4 months of, so the weather's on the backside, a couple of crosswords. There's a commercial. So it looks like a real paper talking about different things. So then he says, I'm a collective I'm an absorbent collective. That's the being I am. And they say, what do you mean, absorbent collective? And they say, we like, so Skinner, like, and then Elton goes, are you Absorbathon, an Absorbaling, an Abzorbaloff? Victor goes, yeah, like that, Abzorbaloff. But Bliss, Bridget, and Mr. Skinner, they've become part of the collective. And let's see, Sponge, yes, a sponge-like thing. Ursula, Ursula's like, then Ursula joins the collective. She says, you know what, Elton? Not sure, but she just joins the collective. It's a mistake. Because the Victor Absorbathon or whatever, Abzorbaloff, tricks her kind of. She says, get out, Elton. Elton and Abzorbaloff, they do a little running, but Elton's like, there's no point really. Like everything I've ever wanted has been absorbed. And the Abzorbaloff says, dissolve into me. Then we have a TARDIS inbound. It rolls up, but it rolls up not to for Elton, but so that Rose can berate Elton on behalf of Jackie. She says, no one upsets my mom. And, that makes sense, this very thing. And he goes, there's an absorba being here. And the doctor's kind of just playing coy the whole time. And then he goes, wait a second, are you an Absorbatrix, an Absorbaclon, an Abzorbaloff? He goes, yeah, an Abzorbaloff. And they go, Rose says, are you from Slitheen? Are you Slitheen from Raxacophallotorpus? Raxacoricophalotorpus or whatever? He goes, no, I'm the twin planet. He goes, what's that called? They love saying Raxacoricophalotorpus. And he says, Clom. And they go, Clom. He goes, yeah, Clom. And he goes, I'm going to be a hero there when I roll back with your time machine. And the doctor goes, that's not going to happen. And he goes, yes, it is. They go back and forth. And he goes, well, one way it wouldn't is a collective decollectiving of your Abzorbaloffing. And so that's what happens. And while that's happening, Ursula says if you he had like a little bit of a cane, a fancy cane, more of a decorative cane. Then she says if you crack that in half, it's like a magic wand. That'll be it for the Zorbaloff. And then, so he ends up being absorbed, the Abzorbaloff. It's a very Whovian moment after this. Ursula becomes a part of a paving stone. like she becomes a collective with that. She says, bye-bye, Elton. Elton's not happy about it. So Rose gives him a big hug. She feels his lost love, and she kind of holds Elton. It's a sweet moment. And you see, there's a couple of like endings to this because he goes, and that's it. Almost. This is Elton on camera. He goes, because there's one more thing about the doctor. And then the doctor explains to Elton, into flashbacks, how, I was at your house. I was dealing with some elemental shade. And, sorry, I was running late, but I got there. And Elton says, we forget what we must. And he says, so that's it, basically. Some good things, some not so great. I can't tell the difference. Stephen King once said salvation and darnation are the same thing. I didn't know he meant till now. Because the doctor's wonderful, but at the same time, I was having a special time before that, just for a bit. Had this nice little gang. And it's not his fault, but I wonder what happens if you touch the doctor, which made me think, has anyone touched the doctor? I would assume so. But I don't know if that's a thing or not. He goes, because I keep thinking of Rose and Jackie. Then we hear Ursula's voice. And then he goes, the doctor used his magic wand to make Ursula a sentient paving stone. What else? Garden Ursula version. And he says, this is Ursula. He goes, it's a relationship of sorts. And there's even like more like WTF discussions in there. And it's like, we're just one of those very Whovian, where it just takes this odd little turn. And also he says, so this is kind of my girlfriend now. Also my camera, I got a new camera with a remote zoom. And let's see, Elton doesn't want a normal life. What is this? His closing thoughts. He goes, when you're a kid, you're supposed to grow up, get a job, get married, get a house, have a kid. That's it. Because the world's so much stranger than this, darker, madder, and so much better. And with that, the episode ends. Okay, let's talk about some of the research that came up in this episode. The first thing was Stop, which is a musical. I think I saw it one time in New York, off Broadway. It's a percussion group, though. It started in Brighton in the UK. Uses body and ordinary objects to create a physical theater and music. Steve McNichols and Luke Cresswell started in Brighton in 1991. They first worked as members of another theater group. They were in the Edinburgh Festival in the 80s. And Pookie Snackenberger, that was their group. Pookie Snackenberger, that was their group, their TV show, commercials. Then they did some large-scale outdoor events with drum orchestras on a pontoon and a 120-piece drum orchestra. And then in 91, they started the original Stomp show, won Best of the Fringe, previewed in the Bloomsbury Theatre in London, became like a 8-person outfit, went from 7 to 8. Between 91 and 94, they toured to sold-out shows, returned to London, did a run at Orpheum Theatre in New York in 94. So this is probably where I would have saw them. And then toured North America and Japan. They've had a larger scale one with 30 members. 2006, they had their 5,000th New York performance. They made it like a IMAX movie. They have a show, I wonder if that's still going, Stomp Out Loud in Las Vegas. Their London show did end the run. So that's a little bit about Stomp, which also brings up the Blue Men Group. Now, I think they started in maybe New York. I don't know where they started. They have ongoing 87. They currently have productions in Berlin, Boston, Chicago, Las Vegas, New York City, and Orlando. And they, this is like a so culturally thing. But yeah, they have 7, 8, and 9 full-time performers. It grew out of a collaboration between Chris Wink, Matt Goldman, and Phil Stanton in Manhattan's Lower East Side in 1987. They like did as Strange Blue Men. They did like street theater, small shows at downtown clubs, and eventually started a full performance in the Astor Theater in '91. No, but theirs is like a little bit more of a theatrical production than just a musical production. So I think I probably saw them maybe in Astor Place, I guess. So it's a blue person group. What about this ELO that we were hearing about and Jeff Lynne? I know not everybody's familiar with it, though I am. ELO, Electric Light Orchestra, is an English rock band formed in Birmingham in 1970. Jeff Lynne, Roy Wood, and Bev Bevan. It's a fusion of Beatlesque pop, classical arrangements, and futuristic iconography. Wood departed in 1972, and Lynne became the band's leader, arranging, producing every album, writing all the material. For the initial tenure, it was Lynne, Bevan, and keyboardist Richard Tandy. It was formed out of Lynne and Wood's desire to create modern rock and pop songs with some classical overtones. Offshoot of Wood's previous band, The Move. Between the 70s and the 80s, they released a string of top 10 albums and 2 LPs that topped the British charts, Discovery in 79 and Time in 86 and 81. By 86, they'd stopped. Bevan did form a band, ELO Part 2, which became the Orchestra. They did do a short-lived reunion in the aughts, and now Lynne and Tandy are together with Jeff Lynne's ELO. But yeah, I think that's like, I mean, their biggest hits are like Blue Sky, Can't Get It Out of My Head. Yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, and then Jeff Lynne is also a part of Trafficking Wilburys and produced like albums for George Harrison, Roy Orbison, Tom Petty, Paul McCartney, and a lot of other things. So not only Jeff Lynne, a musician, but is a great producer. And I guess I'm going to have to sit down and listen to some ELO that's not the top songs, because I don't think I've ever listened to just ELO by itself. So I guess I'm remiss. Okay, Trafalgar Square was another thing. That's a public square in the city of Westminster, central London, built around the area formerly known as Charing Cross. And it commemorates the Battle of Trafalgar during the Napoleonic Wars off of Cape Trafalgar. The site has been a significant landmark since the 13th century when it contained the King's Mews. After George IV moved the Mews to Buckingham Palace, the area was redeveloped by John Nash. Nelson's Column was placed in 1844 when the square opened. There's other commemorative sculptures that occupy the square. But the fourth plinth has been left empty since 1840, but has been host of contemporary art since 1999. There's been a lot of gatherings there and celebrations. It's owned by the Queen and managed by the Greater London Authority. Let's see what else. History, development, columns, redevelopment in 2003. The plinth, the fourth plinth, sculptures. It's got fountains. I guess I've been there. I would assume. Sports victory parades. There's other Trafalgar Squares, of course, in other cities. I was just trying to see what tube stations were near, but I would assume Charing Cross. But that's just a little bit about Trafalgar Square. What about Shakademus and Pliers? That's a reggae duo. Shakademus the DJ and the singer Pliers. They had hits, the two hits that you've probably heard of, and neither one I could say in the show. Began collaborating in the 90s. They were already established musicians when they teamed up. They performed together in Miami, both solo artists and together and with other groups. They appeared at Reggae Sunsplash in 1992, and that's when their first hit came out, along with a couple other well-done, songs that were successful too. And they use Shakademus and Pliers, but when Elton shared it, it was N, just a letter apostrophe N. I did some Googling about the Spinning Wheel pub because I just wanted to see if it was real and if Jackie would have gone there. But the first thing that came up was this website for the Spinning Wheel Inn in Branson, Missouri. It's closed right now, I think, because it's off season. But they said if you're looking for something fancy, we're not for you. If you're looking for clean and affordable, we're the perfect place to stay. And I liked that. I just liked that. And they have another property next door, 12 Oaks Inn, which says that one's not fancy either. So that's good news. But then I also found a Yelp review for Spinning Wheel London, which doesn't look like it's open currently. It only has 2 stars out of 2 reviews. And it was on Northfields Avenue in London, 227. And let's see. One user said the spinning wheel should be called the Spinner. Oh, the Spinner's great if you want to go somewhere with live music. Place looks better in the evenings after you've had a few drinks. If you find yourself thirsty in Northfields, there are better pubs. But if you fancy a boogie or some pretty good bands, come in and pop in the Spinner. But that person only rated it 3 stars. That to me is a 4 or 5 star review. And then another person said they're closed. This was in 2011, and it's going to be a grocery store, Sainsbury's grocery store. So that's news. Il Divo is a crossover group. I don't know, is this the one that, Simon Cowell formed it? It has worldwide singers. It stands for Divine Performer. Sold 30 million copies of albums worldwide, so that's pretty great. They've got 2 million concert tickets. Simon Cowell came up with the concept because he said, what if you take 3 tenors, you make them younger, multinational, and you have 4? And they said, do it. And so they did it. So they've been around since 2004, so time does fly, even when you're Il Divo. Let's see if they're still putting stuff out. I mean, I would assume Artist of the Decade in 2010, Il Divo on Broadway. They've sold 28 million albums. They won the Silver Clef Award. And then Reinventing Il Divo. So, just like a lot of things, they go through different stages. That's Il Divo. Yeah. Oh, this is the term attaboy got used in this this episode. And whenever I hear attaboy, I think of High Fructose and Daniel Seifert, who's an artist. I just want to link to it mostly. Just remember getting these issues of High Fructose and just looking at the art and my mind being blown. You can find out everything current over at yumfactory.com. Swanning off, I think is what Jackie said about Rose. So I said, that's another good one other than a bit severe. And it's an idiom that has a fairly recent origin. It means to move about aimlessly or irresponsibly in a carefree manner. So maybe swanning off just means wandering off whenever you want. First appeared in the late 19th century because it was just the way swans swim. And then I'll just close things off reading Mr. Blue Sky by ELO, Jeff Lynne. First it starts with this radio thing where it says, good morning. Today's forecast calls for blue skies. Sun is shining in the sky. There ain't a cloud in sight. It stops raining. Everybody's in the play. And don't you know, it's a beautiful new day. Hey. Running down the avenue. See how the sun shines brightly. In the city, on the streets where once was pity, Mr. Blue Sky is living here today. Hey, Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. So long. Where did we go wrong? Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. So long. Where did we go wrong? Hey, you with the pretty face. Welcome to the human race. A celebration. Mr. Blue Sky is up there waiting. And today is the day we've waited for. Mr. Blue Sky, Mr. Blue Sky, Mr. Blue Sky. Please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. So long. Where did we go wrong? Hey there, Mr. Blue. We're so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. Hey there, Mr. Blue. We're so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. Mr. Blue, you did it right. But here comes Mr. Knight, creeping over. Now his hand is on your shoulder. Never mind. I'll remember you this way. Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long. Where did we go wrong? Hey there, Mr. Blue Sky. We're so pleased to be with you. Look around, see what you do. Everybody smiles at you. And I think then there's a thing to turn the album over, maybe. It also reminds me of my brother, for a time he edited, like freelance edited with skateboard videos sometimes, particularly for, particularly for one like a actor skateboarder, and when he was doing a rough cut of one, he used Mr. Blue Sky. Obviously, they didn't have the rights, so it was just a rough cut. But it was such a cool, like, if you make skateboarding video, mix that song in there if you can get the rights to it, because it looks awesome. Or like a snowboarding or a skiing video, like a friend Carolyn who listens. Anyway, thanks everybody, and good night. I want to thank everybody that reviewed the show over on Apple Podcasts. Incognito82 said, sleep well. His voice is boring and flat, basically blabbering on about nothing. This is a 5-star review, by the way. Puts me into sleep so good. I love this podcast. I listen to it even when I don't have sleeping issues. Thank you, Incognito. Mazkey, double Z, says, love this. My mom recommended it. We're both insomniacs. Right away, I fell in love with this podcast. Been listening for the whole year. Never failed me. Thank you so much. Heidi Carrots says, best there is. I've been listening for a couple of years. Love it. After trying other things, I came back to my Borbay. Thanks, Scoots. Thanks, Heidi. Oh, this is weird. This is also from Incognito82. Huh. So maybe that's like a code name or something. This Incognito82 says that the podcast used to have background music, so they don't like it anymore, but it didn't. So maybe, I don't know what they, so I don't know. They don't like we didn't ever had any, we just have the beginning music is it. Okay. Ali Kai says this is the best. Sleep issues, tried OTC, everything, oils, sound. Some things help, but with unwanted side effects, and some things didn't work at all. Scoots and Sleep With Me is the best. It works every time, whether I'm getting in bed or waking up or getting back to sleep or taking a nap. I listen every day, sometimes more than once a day. Let's see. I think that's it for that, because the next one's good old Epic Scorps, who says, don't listen to the trolls. Okay, so I bounced over to Castbox. Their comments. Phil Boyd says, like the podcast very much. Sometimes you make me laugh. I'll keep on dropping in. Chad says, I've been listening and very effective. Yeah, I wonder how much Scoots was influenced by Mr. Rogers. Yeah, a bunch for sure. Katie says, I've had trouble sleeping for 8 years. Tried a different OTC and other things. And thanks to George and Karen, I found my way to this podcast. Thank you. Maggie says, love Scoots and Ray. And they're slowly on the road to recovery. And the podcast is helping with that. Thank you. That's awesome. Chelsea says, I love the podcast and it helps. Ruth loves the mystery bard. Yasmin did not like the podcast. Daly didn't know. So, yeah, just a bunch of different things. So you can comment in the cast box, too. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to comment on the show. The Sleeping actually grows. Almost all our growth is because the listeners just naturally spreading the word in your own community, whether it's in person or online. And you just say, hey, if you're comfortable, that's the biggest thing is being comfortable to explain Sleep with me and that you listen to it. And then actually I don't know if it's possible to concisely sum it up, but that's actually how we grow. I guess also the difficulty of talking about the show. Our growth's always been slow and steady, not viral anyway, but it makes it, I guess it's like when you can't explain something, sometimes it makes somebody says, might have to check that out because I got no idea what you're talking about. Or Scoot sounds like an interesting character. So that's how the show grows. Sleep With Me exists as a podcast from direct listener support. That's the reason the show's here for you to listen to it. And that comes by people directly supporting the show financially, kind of in a value for value. They're getting value out of the show, so they give financial value back. Patreon, a couple other places, and then people that directly support the sponsors and ideally share about it. That's a huge way. Thank you, everybody that does that, because I'm here because of your choice and your actions. I really appreciate it. We're a proud member of Night Vale Presents. If you haven't checked out the original Night Vale, welcome to Night Vale. I don't know. Now's the perfect time. I guess that's what I would say. You can listen to that, and you can listen to Good Morning Night Vale. You could start at the beginning. You could hop right in. But just search in your podcast app, the Trailblazing. I don't know if I would say can podcasts be intrepid? And full of wonderful, wonderful people. Holy mackerel. Some of the most supportive and encouraging people I've ever met in my entire life. Produce, write, and perform on that show. So welcome to Night Vale. Check it out in your podcast app of choice. We're a proud member of Night Vale Presents. You can see everything else they're doing. I guess I'm a part of it a little bit. Welcome to NightValePresents.com. Confusing the brand. I got that part down. I got a handle on that. Makes it more easier to share when I can't share it. We're also a member of PRX. You can see everything they're doing at prx.org. And that's it. But here's the thing. There's way more episodes to go if you need it. I'm here. Cue it up. I'm ready to go on the flip side of this episode. Thanks.